Want to know how to sell a house in 2025? In today's episode, we're going to break down a step-by-step guide that actually works. No fluff, just real strategies that help you sell your house faster for more money and without losing your mind. So if you're looking to list your house this year, I wouldn't skip this episode.
Let's get it. Welcome to the Open Books Podcast, where we discuss all things real estate, helping you take the road less traveled to real estate success. I'm your co-host, Curtis Haddock, alongside Casey Tudor and the one and only Brooke Massey. Good morning, you guys. Welcome. Hey, if you guys like today's content, please like, comment, subscribe, give us feedback, give us anything,
Just talk to us. We want friends.
Recommendations on our next episode. Like, just show us that you care.
Do something.
Give us the love, What are we talking about today?
Well, I think it's been pretty frustrating lately because what agents have to understand and what they have to help their sellers understand is that this is not 2021 anymore. 2025 is a completely different market than we've been in. So what I've noticed a lot is, like, you go to sit down at the table and you run comps, but yet the comps seem good, but that doesn't mean you're going to sell in a day. We're pushing 30, 60, 90 days, more of a balanced market. The listings are on the rise. Buyers have more power. They've got more to choose from, but they're also stressed out because of the interest rates being high. Purchase prices are high, which makes your payments really high. And so the market's correcting itself a little bit, which is not a bad thing. It's a market. That's what happens. I don't think that we're in a bubble. We're not going to be in a crash, but sellers have to be realistic in this market.
Man, it's so much easier to ride the wave up than down.
Yeah, it is.
Because people only like positive.
Yeah, well, and people, they're always stuck in the market that we were in.
Yes.
And so they refuse to understand that it's new. So if you want to be a really good agent, you really need to know the market, know where it's been, know where it's going to, and also, like, really look at the numbers and look at listings that have been expired, because you might have 3 sales in that neighborhood and some of them sold in 4 or 5 days. But if you actually look at the history, it was listed with another agent for 6 months prior to. So really, instead of 180 days on the market or 9 days on the market, it's 189 days on the market. Mm-hmm. And now that seller doesn't know that. And you're saying, oh, yeah, house is selling here in a week, when it's not true.
Well, if you're looking to sell your house in 2025 and beyond, it's really quite simple. And I know that the general public usually thinks it's just sticking the sign in the yard and you put it on the MLS and that's it. And so what am I paying for? And we're going to teach you guys that it is simple if you know what you're doing in each of the different areas that you have to do well in when you're listing your home. The 3 important parts of listing your home that we're going to talk about today is price it right from day one. And that's kind of what Casey was talking about a little bit. And it's a shifting market. And so you have to take that into consideration. When you're pricing your home, you're going off of historical data. Most homeowners do not price their home well because they just look at a price per foot that a home sold for in their neighborhood, and they look for the highest one.
And that's
They think that's what I'm going to go for and get. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into pricing a home right that a lot of people are not. They don't have the skill set or the knowledge to take those things into consideration. And the biggest thing right now is that it is historical data. And if there's a price adjustment right now, we're going off of prices that in the past that haven't been, they're still adjusting down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to price it off of historical data, you really need to go a little bit below that in order to have it priced right. But there's not very many sellers that are going to be willing to do that because they knew that if they would have sold a couple years ago, that what they could have, someone told them what they could have gotten, and they're wanting that, and we'll get into that here in a second, and then prep your home to maximize your value. I cannot say that
This is a simple one.
It's super simple, but it goes a long way, because it actually feeds into the last point, which is market like a pro. And that's going to come into with pictures, where you put it, the exposure that you get, but it goes way beyond exposure. It goes into getting people to your house and then actually writing an offer. So you could be great at exposure, right, and blast it everywhere, but if nobody comes and looks at your house, it's going to be really hard to sell it. You could get, we just had a listing that had over 30 showings, and within a couple of weeks, and we didn't get a single offer.
Yep.
So you could be getting people to the house and doing a great job at that, but if you're not getting an offer, there's something that's missing, right? And so all of it kind of goes hand in hand. And when you are prepping your home and doing all those things, you want to think about the emotions of the buyer that's walking through the door. What do they feel as soon as they step in? Because we all place judgments, good, bad, everywhere. And as soon as somebody walks into your home, they're making a judgment, and you want it to be positive and good. So with that being said, let's get into pricing it right from day one.
Well, but I'm not in a hurry, Curtis. So we'll just shoot for the moon, right? Why would I not?
Yeah.
And leave room for negotiation. I need to leave room for negotiation.
Because you're going to come in low, right? So, I mean, we might as well just shoot high.
And they're going to be asking for closing costs,
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that you can say no to that.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to pay closing costs
Hey.
unless it's a really big, like if it's balanced market, just say no. But if it's a buyer's market, you really need to take that into consideration.
And
right?
hopefully hopefully they know that. I mean, I don't even know what to say, dude, because it's like, it's just, you say it all the time and it seems to never sink in.
Yeah.
Well, then it does sink in for those few people, and they're like, oh, wow, I'm so glad that we listened to you. Or, man, we should have listened to you from the start. And like, well, do you think that I could have my next client call you?
Yeah.
So you could have this conversation.
That's a great
with
idea,
them,
actually.
So you don't have to do it again.
I know. I mean, because you can't take that person, just like we can't take our experience and pass it on to the next seller. We can't take our seller's experience either and pass it on to the next seller, right? And so
it's like, how do you overcome, because it's all emotional, all the little things that we said. Like, I do think it's emotional.
from the seller's point too.
Yeah, and then most people, I was actually talking about this yesterday with some of my close friends that are not in real estate. I was like, most people don't know, because most people, they've only gone through like one sales transaction for themselves. They've only moved once or bought a house once or whatever, or maybe twice or 3 times.
Yeah, I've had people that have bought a house maybe 4 or 5 times in their lifetime, and now they're an expert.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you look at it, when I look at Casey's numbers, I think that you are approaching 1,000 transactions from you and your team.
Yeah.
And so I'd have to look. You might be over it, actually. I'm not 100% sure.
He's like, I don't know.
I'm a busy guy.
I've just been here.
But it's like, okay, and I don't think it's a fair comparison, but I'm going to make it anyways.
Okay.
If you were going to hire a surgeon to operate on your body, would you rather someone who's done it 5 times or 1,000 times?
That's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just like, it's the same concept, though the stakes aren't as high.
Right.
Although people's
treat it that way.
People's money, though, it's a really important thing. And a lot of times people don't even understand. One of the situations that I just had when it came to price was they came to me after they had already negotiated the price of a house that was off market, and they were like, I just need someone to help me get it under contract. It's simple. Just fill in the blank. You can do that for cheap, right? And it's like, no, because I don't think you understand how much more involved it is. And by the way, by getting me involved this late, you already cost yourself some money. And they go, oh, no, they got an appraisal, and we're just paying the appraisal amount. So we agreed that whatever the appraisal comes back, we'll pay that, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, who's paying the commission?
Right.
Because do they have an agent? Nope, they didn't have an agent, so they're not paying commission. You have an agent, so you're going to have to pay me whatever I charge. Yeah. And that's what ended up happening. And so guess what? You just overpaid by, regardless of what I charged you, you overpaid 3% minimum, because all of the comparables that appraisal was looking at, they were paying a commission.
Yeah.
At least for sure on the listing side.
Right.
They were paying a
Right.
commission.
Well, and that's an interesting point too, because you hear things and you hear people say things like, "Well, the commission is just I'm paying for the commission anyways because it's just built in the price." It's like, well, I mean, if you go buy a toothbrush, do you not think that all the costs that are associated with getting that toothbrush on the shelf is not built into that price?
Yeah.
Like that's how
It's how it works.
the economy works.
It's exactly how it works. And it just blew my mind, this whole thing, and how they were going about it, because like why do people want to sell their house off market? Most of the time they want to save on the commission.
Right.
Yep.
So, okay, buyer, if you're going to be buying,
You can brush your teeth with your finger too if you wanted to.
You could.
Not as effective,
Yeah, not
but
as
you can
effective.
get the job done.
Yeah.
My point exactly.
if you're going to buy
We
a
have to
house,
spend some more money down the line at the dentist.
Yeah, exactly.
my point was, if you're going to buy a house off market, then you should be also able to save the money on the commission. You should each respectively save the commission dollars on the price. And unless the seller was going to pay for the buy side commissions, then okay, fine. Appraisal value would have been fine.
Right.
But that just, it's not what happened.
Yeah, pricing is what I like to tell people is the comps are kind of just a marker because
It's historical data.
yeah, but it's not telling you where the market's necessarily going. I mean, it is if prices are trending downward, it's giving you an idea. But that doesn't mean the Feds cut the rate and then it trends back up.
Yeah, you don't know
So,
when, yeah.
and I learned this lesson before too, because there's a lot of realtors out there saying, well, if you don't list for what I say, then I'm not going to take the listing because that's my reputation.
I mean, I've said that a few
remember, well, I'm not saying there's situations, but
Correct.
there was a time I tried to convert a FSBO and I told her there's no way she was going to get over $300,000 because I ran the comps, and that's what the comps are saying. Well, guess what happened? The next day, she got a $350,000 cash offer from a buyer from California.
And you were wrong.
And I was wrong by $50,000. You know
That's
what I would do with $50,000?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. Now that doesn't just give anyone the right to say, "Oh, I'm going to make $50,000 extra," but the market in that moment spoke.
Yeah, but you know what? Because of that, we have sellers now that say, "Yeah, I'm waiting for one of those dumb Californians to come write me an offer." Didn't you just have someone say that?
Yeah, we're not talking about that.
Okay,
point,
we won't
but-
talk- we won't
But
talk
no,
about
we
that
can't.
one.
But no,
But-
that guy was completely unrealistic.
Yeah, the other mistake that I see homeowners make is if they're in a new construction neighborhood.
Oh,
like where
that's
they're still.
that's a tough one.
It's a real tough one, because if you're in a home where there's new homes being built, you see what the builder is pricing them at, and if you could have the exact same floor plan, same elevation,
and you bought it last year.
you could have bought it 2 days ago.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk in, as soon as you close on that house, whatever the builder is asking for, you cannot ask for the same thing.
No, it's good for you currently when you buy that house if you bought it 2 days ago, because then you have equity building as they're building more houses. But
If the prices,
you gotta
if
wait.
the builder is able to keep raising prices, but
For
if
sure.
not, or if they're staying the same, then that's one of the few instances where you have an immediate depreciation in your value, because
It's like buying a new car.
It's just like if you're buying a new home, it is just like buying a new car. In the immediate,
Right.
Yes.
It'll catch back up, but
Yeah.
not overnight.
I always tell people, if you're going to buy a new home, you better plan on staying there. I mean, a minimum of 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Minimum.
Right.
And
And you
that's
better take
even
care of
pu-
it.
And that's even
Yes.
pushing it. I think almost 5 years, and especially depending on where you are.
Yeah.
If you're on the coast or something, 3 years could be the perfect amount of time. But where we are, Midwest, where we don't get a ton of ups and downs in the market, then you're going to be, I would say, 5 years at best.
Yeah.
So if you end
Yeah.
up in a situation where you have to sell, then you better be prepared to lose some money.
And I actually just had a deal exactly like this. And our seller, he was trying everything. I mean, he totally made us work for our money, for sure. And I get where his mindset, he was really nice about it. But it's like, no matter the amount of marketing or wherever you put it, or post it over here, or tell this person about it, at the end of the day, what I always tell him, I was like, at the end of the day, like, no matter what, if I get somebody to like your house, like, they're still going to pull up data and
Yeah.
look and compare and see, oh, there's new builds here that I can go get for even just $10 more a square foot, and it's a brand new house. And he had a brand new house, and he added on this. He added on a whole bunch of concrete. Like he probably spent quite a bit of money, probably 10 grand or something on his little outdoor area. And I was like, you have a more desirable home now because you did those things, but you're still competing against new builds that has a new HVAC, a new roof, a new electrical, new plumbing. People think about those things.
Well, even if, again, back to even if yours is 1 hour old.
Yeah.
And if you've moved your stuff in, okay? And even if you didn't move your stuff in, and there's now a owner of record that has transferred for some reason, when people compare, when a legitimate buyer comes up to that neighborhood and they're like, oh, I want that house, okay, and they see that house that has an owner of record and they see this house that's never been owned before, there's still going to be a premium on the house that's never been owned before. They're going to choose that one if they're priced exactly the same.
There's a stigma to it. It's like, why is this brand new house for sale again?
Or that
Just all the small psychological things add up to
totally.
people.
It's so emotional for so many people. So like they got to look and think about it that way. I always explain to my sellers, like with all the things, I'm like, all those points are totally valid. But at the end of the day, like we're selling your house, like we have to cater to those buyers. We have to create a demand and create excitement. And we got to get showings, because showings is what leads to offers, not putting things online and doing all that. Like we gotta get that. But in order to do that and create that demand, we gotta list it right.
Yeah,
there's also people
like,
are looking, you know.
Yeah, well, speaking of them looking, there's also generally speaking, there's a ceiling and a floor to what homes are priced in a certain area.
Yes.
So let's just make up the number. In this area, nothing goes over 500 and rarely goes below 3, unless it's a foreclosure or something random. So all the houses priced in there. So anyone looking in that area is going to generally stop their search at 500. And then you got a seller who's wanting to do 515, 525.
Your house won't even pull up.
And now it's not even getting seen. That's why I'm huge on price brackets within reason. Like if you run comps and it comes up at $403,250, I highly urge them to just go ahead and list at 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because anyone searching from 3 to 4 is going to hit it, and you just lost all those buyers.
You'll get a few people that will thinking that they can negotiate, and they'll go if their budget's 400 and that's their max. They'll look at 405, 410, and hopes that they.
But is that the buyer you want?
Hopes that they can negotiate down. But yeah, that's the type of buyer you would be attracting at that point. And so, and that's only a few buyers that actually do that. I think that a lot of people, sellers, even new agents and even existing agents that have been doing it for a while, I think that they relate marketing a home to like what you think of when you're marketing regular everyday products in the store, right?
Yeah.
And they think that if you have a quality product,
well, they run sales.
Do what?
They run sales.
What do you mean?
in the store, they run sales.
Well, what my point is that the not the store, but the company runs ads on TV possibly, and like they're doing brand awareness recognition, and they're doing I forget the phrase that I'm thinking of, but where you see it all the time subconsciously, and it's in your brain, and like and when you show up at the store, like you're willing to pay a premium for, let's say, Apple, when there's existing products that do the exact same thing for the most part within reason, right?
Yeah.
For half the price in some cases.
Yeah.
But they're willing to pay over the market for that. Well, real estate does not work that way.
No.
It just doesn't. And I always tell people, if it did, like if I could do enough exposure and enough brand recognition of your property, okay, to where I could build a brand around your property and sell it for twice the value, I probably would do my house first. Is what I always tell people.
Yeah.
As a joke,
Yeah.
Like, if I can sell your house for $1 million, I'm going to sell my house first. I can't sell your house for $1 million if it's worth $200,000. There's nothing that I can do to do that. With products, you can do that through the strength of your brand.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, like, especially if they're like, a lot of clients are always worried, like, oh my God, why isn't my house selling? Is there something wrong? Are we not doing something? And I always tell them, like, hey, would you buy your neighbor's house for $100?
Yeah.
Has anyone ever told me no? No. Yes, I'd buy the house for $100. Would you buy it for $1,000? Yeah. Would you buy that $400,000 house next door for $100,000? Yeah. Okay. What I just proved to you is that every house is for sale.
Yeah.
What's the point? It's the price.
Yeah.
What's the price that the market is going to bring?
Yeah,
that's what you want to know.
And you don't want to fire. We're not. And when I do that scenario too, and I'm not suggesting that you fire sell it and just get rid of it. But but the point is that there's what's called a fair market value, equilibrium, right? Where supply meets demand. You got a price point. Your goal with your property is to hit that. Now if you can get over it because there's multiple offers and you got some competition and people who really want it, great. We can sell it for over fair market value at times, but you want to increase the demand. And I always tell people, like, when you first put it on the market, we all know this. That's going to be like when people it hits everyone's inbox.
That's the most important time
because they're going to see your house by itself for the first time. It's hitting the market, and they're clicking through the pictures of your house. Right. If it's overpriced and man, that's just too much, and they move on. We can make adjustments. Like we drop the price. We change pictures around. We add some descriptions, and we try to do
chasing your tail.
We try to do some creative things. Well, guess what? That doesn't hit their inbox again as an individual property. They have to go back to that property, have saved it, or go back in a list of 30 properties that are in their search, and they have to pull it back up and seed all that.
And even if they do, they've got new ones coming in
all the time. So that's why when agents are telling you that it's so important to list it right out of the gate, it's so important to do that.
Well, and just create the demand. Sometimes that's what drives the price up, because if you have a nice house and you market it right with some of the other things that we're going to talk about, and then you priced it right, well, now everyone that's been looking, and to Casey's point, like if there's an area where it's max price is $500,000 and you have the absolute coolest house in the neighborhood, well, then price it at that $500,000, because now you're just going to create so many more showings to your property, because all these buyers have been looking in this area. They already pre-approved for that around $500,000. This is where they're looking for. This is the area. This is the school district. That's what they're going after. So be smart about it, and then get them in there. And then as soon as people start coming in their showings, and then they see somebody else pull up for the next showing, it's emotional for that buyer. Now that buyer's like, oh my gosh, we need to hurry up and put in an offer. So they hurry up and put in an offer, while this other one that pulled up just sees I punched the mic. I'm talking with my hands. But then that other buyer that pulled up, they see somebody else that just left. They go in. Now they love the house, and they're like, crap, we better hurry up and put in an offer.
I can just see you punching your drink down.
This is you punching the mic right here, by the way.
Oh, okay. You can cut it out then.
No,
just remember it. Put a little tab.
That's what we're talking about. We got to keep the punch in there.
That's right.
Because I'm that serious.
Sorry, did you finish your thought?
I did finish my thought.
Okay,
like,
making sure.
It's all emotional. So when you create that demand, and that's where people are like, well, we come in strong, because then they're calling me as a listing agent. I'm telling them, I'm hyping your property up. Yeah, we have another showing. Somebody else, I don't have another offer in hand, but I have somebody else. They're working on their pre-approval, whatever it may be, right? Or, yeah, I just got another offer. Somebody else said they're submitting an offer in the next hour, right?
I'm going to piggyback off of that, and then we'll move on to the next topic. But creating the demand is so important, and one of the things that it reminded me of what I was going to say, I think a lot of us make the mistake of even when I sell my own home and I give it to Casey or somebody to list and to sell it, I run the comps and I see what it is, and I'm like, but I want to leave room for negotiation, right?
Yeah.
I want to inch it up just a little bit more. I don't want to leave any money on the table.
Fair.
Yeah.
I get that part.
I think we all do that, but my point is that we got to stop doing that, because you're talking about creating demand. Well, let's think about this. Let's assume that there is a buyer out there that loves your house. It's a needle in a haystack for them. They found it and they love it. Okay, and you're overpriced. Okay, they come in and they're like, I'm gonna make an offer. They're gonna like we've said, they're gonna go run the data and run the comps now. Okay, here's the data and the comps. They see what you're asking. They're like, oh man, like, and people don't want to. They're always worried from the buyer side. They're always worried about offending the seller for the most part, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to like come in too low, even if they feel like, man, this thing is worth $100K less. You know, like it's a psychological thing for sure. And so that buyer, my point though is the buyer is only competing with themselves. They're competing with nobody else. They can come in and ask for whatever they want, take their time, think about it, go back and forth, yada yada. If you price it right, or even price it below, and you got 4, 5, 6 people, like you said, you've created that demand, and you're telling them, yeah, we got an offer, we got another one coming in, we got 4 showings, and we're doing, and for some reason you tell people what buyers dread hearing is like, oh, we're doing an open house tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's
oh
my
no, please,
favorite.
I'll whatever you got to do, don't do the open house. I'll pay you this much. Right?
Yeah, give me what I'm asking and I'll cancel it.
Yeah, of course.
Come
I will.
on, let's go.
You're creating the demand, and so when you have 5 or 6 people, think about something that you want, and 5 or 6 other people want it and are putting in an offer. You're most likely, if you really want it, you're going to offer over what it's worth.
Yeah. And that's the buyers I want for my sellers. I want somebody that, because I've had some people, they're like, oh, I don't want to mess with multiple offers, and they back out. And I'm not mad about that's not the buyer that I want, because that buyer's gonna be timid too throughout the whole process potentially.
I'm not playing that game.
Yeah. And so like I want that buyer. I want the buyer to come and be like, I want this house so bad.
Yeah.
This is what I got to do to make it happen.
Yeah.
We don't always get it, but let's move on to the next topic. But real quickly, if you are a seller out there and you're trying to price your home, we can't. I don't think that we can educate you in one podcast on all of the knowledge and skills that we have obtained over the years to do this the correct way. But something to consider and look at, okay, is you don't want to go. You really don't want to go past 15% of the square footage of your property. So if you're comparing a home in your neighborhood and it's more than 15% of your square footage on either side, above or below,
Even if it's your neighbor next door.
Yeah, so 1,000 square foot home, you're looking at 850 to 1,150 square feet.
Now appraisals, they can go to 20% now. So if you need to find more data, you can go to 20, but it's going to be more accurate if you can, stronger value if you can use properties that are within 15%. Then you want to look at the condition of the home, and you want to make sure you're using homes in your subdivision. If you don't have a subdivision, or if you have a subdivision with a wide range of new homes, old homes, homes that are 20 years old or homes that are 60 years old, then you're going to have to maybe take into consideration the age. But a lot of times homes were built around the same time, in the same phase or whatever. You get historical homes, it completely changes, and you really need to get a professional involved if you're in a historical district or area. But if you're just in a regular subdivision, then those are the main things you're looking for, is the same similar size and similar condition. You can try to go crazy and make sure you only find 4-bedroom homes if yours is 4 bedrooms, and only 2 bath, and if yours is 2 bath, but the size is going to be the most important when it comes to comparing, because it's we all talk about the area, location. That's going to drive the value ultimately, and then how big is the house it is that you're building. Like a 4-bedroom versus a 3-bedroom to me is 2 extra walls, but a family of 2 or 3 is going to pay more for a 3-bedroom because the rooms are bigger. Right? Yep. If there's a bigger family, they need the 4 bedrooms, so they're going to be more. There's so many family demographics out there. The size is what matters the most, and I know there's probably people that are going to completely disagree with me on that. But man, I used to review appraisals, and I've been very, very close when we value properties, and I know other agents probably are too. But anyways, that's if you are going to try to price it on your own, that's what you want to focus on. Otherwise, get with an agent that has either support or has been doing it for a long time.
And make them show you data.
Let's move on to prep your home to maximize your value.
Oh, gosh.
What do you tell people when they need to prep their home? And we all know we've showed up to the house that says they're ready, and they're not.
Less is more, and I have a checklist, and you can ask Jennifer that I do all my deals with, because sometimes she'll joke and be like, oh yeah, you're home show ready, and I like look at her, I'm like, no, you're not. You got to remove this, and this.
But they'll be like, well, that's not that big of a deal, is it? It's
I'm like, no, it is.
do you want to make the most? My go-to is, do you want to make the most money on your house possible that you can,
Yes.
or do you want to leave money on the table?
Well, and you're also moving.
But
So
look
just
how
start packing.
cute my grandkids are. That's not going to cost me money.
Right? Yeah, they will.
What are you talking about?
Well, what if the buyer doesn't like kids and doesn't like knowing that there was kids in this house?
I mean, it could be any.
It could be.
And listen,
it sounds
this
so
story-
silly,
this-
but it's a possibility.
The picture thing is a big. I mean, first of all, the pictures go all over the internet, all over the world. So that's one thing for privacy.
So they're going to see your
But-
grandkids in China.
I've had a buyer recognize the sellers, and
Yes.
they didn't screw me over, but they contacted the seller because they knew them,
with
and
the
they started. They didn't try to cut us out, but they were trying to. She was
They
trying
could
to
mess up a
schmooze
deal.
that seller
They could
because
mess up a deal quickly
yeah,
when they
and
start
then that
connecting.
guy, the seller, got annoyed with my client. And it's like,
Oh yeah, because
stop.
some people are like,
Yeah.
no, I hired a professional. Like, go through my professional.
Yeah.
You know.
The biggest thing is to me, as we talk about emotion when people walk into the house, if you have family pictures and portraits all over the house, it has nothing to do with whether people think that they're cute and good personalities and nice people or whatever. It has everything to do with whether they feel like they're intruding on your home or whether
Yep.
they're walking into their home.
Well, because online, and this is always my thing. Like online, people can only see so much, right? And so the whole point of like how we do our photos, don't post everything so people get the showings. But then once the showing happens, it's so much more emotional, because now I just went from a visual to now they can do all of their senses. They can smell your house. They can see it in real life. They can touch things. This thing's dirty. Is it clean? They're looking at all kinds of stuff. So that's always
They
something to
feel
really
something
think about.
the moment they walk in the
Yes.
door. I've had people walk in and say, nope, let's turn around and go.
And I've gone to plenty of showings where we've just walked out.
In the pictures, you don't want anyone to think that you live there. Like, that's the goal. It's like, do they live there? Because they want to look at the house, not your stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. It's like, well, I got to live here.
Yeah, they got to understand.
It's like, yeah, but you're moving.
Yeah.
It's
Again,
like, this isn't your home anymore. We want to sell this home to someone else.
you do-
I get that you're living there, but again, like you're selling your house, we have to attract the buyers. It's not about you anymore.
It starts from the moment there's things you can't control. But it starts from the moment they drive into the neighborhood.
Yes.
And then where it really starts mattering is when they get out of the car and they start walking up the driveway. What are they seeing? Are
Yeah.
they seeing weeds? Are they seeing grass growing up in the flower
Yeah,
bed?
that's-
Does the
yeah.
front door, is it all faded from the sun?
Something that really bothers me, just squirrel moment, is I don't understand. I do this at my house. I'm very like particular about it. But like spraying for the weeds in the cracks in your driveway and in the street in
Yeah.
front of your house.
Yeah.
My house is the only one. Everyone else has it like
All
growing.
those things matter.
It totally
yeah.
matters, because I'm like, for someone like me, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to go through and pick up all that stuff, and then what is it doing in my driveway? And
It could speed up. It may not like add like a ton of value to the property, but it'll make a difference in somebody feeling something when they first get there and putting an offer in. That's
But
for
it
sure.
affects
it could stop you
demands
from
that
having
you're
to do a
creating.
price drop.
Do what?
It could stop you from having to do a price drop.
100%. It can get you an offer much faster and stop
And
the long term.
these are things you could do even on a home that's dated. Like, it still has laminate countertops, or it's like, or it still has carpet, and it's just not like the cutest
And-
house. But if all the air registers are clean, the baseboards are clean, the carpets have been shampooed,
Then
and they're
people
clean,
see the potential,
That
too.
stuff
people-
goes so far.
Most people want a move-in ready house. There's not very many people that are like, oh, I want a fixer-upper.
Yeah.
There's people that they're okay with fixing things,
20
but
yeah.
if you have to
Sweat
come in
equity.
and clean everything up and declutter, and there's like this random wood pile little thing in the backyard, the buyers just starts thinking like, remodeling the kitchen, but now I got to do all this extra stuff, and it just that could
Even if
break
you replace the carpet that someone's going to come rip out because the house is dated and
Just
older.
do it.
Just do it
Carpet's
because it will increase the value because it's
Yep.
going to get the urgency. Oh, hey, you know what? The carpet's at least clean. It's not our favorite, but then what they'll do? They'll move in and live on it for 5-10 years.
Yep,
Yes.
Yep. Your example sounded so specific. Did you have a situation where there was a big old wood pile somewhere?
Actually, no, there wasn't. But
Oh,
I
really?
randomly just.
Oh,
but
man.
now that I think about it, I
I've
do
seen
have a listing
plenty
right now,
of
and
wood
she
piles.
didn't. She cleaned up a little bit, but there's still
Like
two
firewood
big,
or like
yeah, like she has
okay.
like these big trees, and so there's these two little stumps, and I was like, ugh. I'm like thinking about termites.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's one thing. Like if I'm showing my buyers, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to check that window for termites because
Yeah.
there's all this wood right there.
yeah.
So-
If you're thinking about stuff, they are too.
Yeah.
So less is more, and I always say bigger is better. And what I mean by that is
Make it look bigger.
look big. You want the rooms to look big. You want there's counter space to look large, storage to be large, and just as much as you can. There's a reason we say declutter everything, even the closets. Even they're not going to be in the pictures inside, but the pantry. I can't tell you how many nice, amazing pantries I've seen pictures of that are ruined because it's just disorganized and just stuff laying
And
it just looks
You're
so
better off
bad.
just not shooting that and saying
Yeah, I just
large
won't take
pantry.
large pantry,
Yeah.
large walk-in pantry or something. But like, man,
If it's a nice one, there
it's a
are people
nice
that
one-
organize that stuff for you now.
And
You
if-
don't
and if
wanna
you're
do
an
it.
agent-
or take this would be annoying, but take everything out, take the picture, and
Yeah,
put everything back.
yeah.
in.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
worth it. It's oh my god, it's worth it.
Well, I've
If
told
you're-
people because like they'll have like I'm like you've got to move this ginormous chair that's
the
literally in the middle of your
stupid
living
massage chairs.
room. No, it's
I
just
hate those.
Oh yes,
They
okay, I
can't
know what
really
you're
be
talking about.
moved.
Yes, but like I'm just talking about like a chair. Like I had a listing just now, and I was like, he's like, that's my chair. Like that's what I always sit in every day, and I was like.
Is it for
Put
sale?
it in the
No,
garage.
move it.
Put it in the
Yeah.
garage. I'm like, listen, I need your property look the absolute best on day of photos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your house is fine enough for everything else. If you put this couch back when buyers walk through, I'm okay with it. But for photos, I need it to look bigger.
And if you want to be an agent and really sell this point to people, to me, it's just easy if you just show them pictures that you've done for a
Yeah.
listing because
Yes.
then they're like, oh, those look. It's like
Well,
these are what
but- and then
this is
show
what your
them
house is going to look
pictures-
like.
Show them pictures of other homes that don't do it.
As you're running comps,
Yes.
you show them like, hey, look, they covered $8,000 in closing costs, and look, their pantry's a mess, and they've got laundry hanging out of their washing machine.
Oh, man, some
I've done
photos
that,
I
and
laugh.
I did that once and here recently, and I showed them like one of my biggest things that I struggle. I don't know why I struggle to convince people of this. Just please remove everything from your countertops. And I mean
Yes.
everything. Like
Your coffee pot,
coffee
everything.
maker, your mixer, your toaster oven, all of the stuff. Just get it all out. And and if you use coffee pot every day, guess what? As soon as we take pictures, guess what you get to do?
You put it right
right
back out.
back on the countertop. This is just for
Yeah.
pictures. And I showed this seller some listings that had nothing, completely clean. It was clear. I think I showed one of yours, Casey. It was I showed a couple, but one of them was yours. And then I showed her, and it wasn't hard for me to find other listings that didn't do that.
I know.
Most agents, they just tell them to clean up the house, and they go snap pictures.
Yes.
And
Your listings are your resume.
yeah,
I show up and I
drives
move stuff.
I just don't understand it because, and I do understand it. It's because they still sell the house over time, right? But how much are they costing the seller?
Yeah.
How fast and dollar wise are they leaving on the table because they just were lazy?
Yeah.
But I showed them the pictures and like, oh wow, like. That does make a difference. It looks so different. And I said, okay, so when we come for pictures, everything gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's also less
Show
to
up.
clean.
Guess what happened?
Nothing.
It wasn't nothing, but but it was still a lot that was on the countertops. I was just like so disappointed.
I just start moving stuff. I pre-warn my sellers, but I just start moving stuff.
No, I would.
And then
too.
they kind of start feeling bad, and they start helping me. But but no, because I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, if,
And then as
if you're
I'm doing
hiring
it-
me,
As
it's
I'm
going
doing it,
to
I'm
be
like,
good.
trust me, this is going to pay off. Let's just get this moved. We'll put it
Yeah.
back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's It's so I mean, because
Like
when
you want to ask over a fair market value, but not put it in the condition it needs to get that. You know, like.
But also,
man.
too, like, one of the biggest things sellers hate doing is cleaning their freaking house for a showing. So, like, all the things on the countertop, but I'm also one that, like, I can't stand it. I put all my appliances up. But, like, that's just, like, you have to clean that. Like, it's just a whole nother thing that you have to clean, where if it's just clean, just wipe it down real quick.
I think that if you make the pictures so good and get it ready the first time, then you don't. It doesn't. When people come for showings, you don't have to be as meticulous with the cleaning.
right.
Oh, I do agree with
You
that.
know, because
Unless you
the
have, like,
emotions,
animals and stuff.
The emotions have been established when they see the pictures. Now, when they're walking in, they're looking at habitability, like the floor plan and things like that. Now,
Yep.
you don't want it to be a mess and crumbs everywhere and
stink
dust
and smell like
bad.
food.
Yeah, you still need to keep it maintained.
Unless it's good
and
food.
clean, yeah. But to me, that like do it that once and then just keep it maintained.
Yeah.
You brought up animals. That's a good one. But dog bowls not in the pictures.
Trash
Get
cans.
them out of there.
I had a client who almost backed out of a deal after inspections because the house was presentable, and then when we set up the inspections, or after we contracted, they stopped taking care of it like they normally did.
Yeah.
and
like stop mowing the lawn and all that kind of stuff. Or-
well, when we showed up for inspections, they had cooked dinner the night before, and everything was still on the stove, like crusty beans, and he's like, is this really how they've taken care of this house?
yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, like when people say like anything can happen in real estate, like anything can happen, and he almost backed out over that, dude.
That's
Like,
fair. What'd you do? Like make sure it made him hire a professional cleaner? I would have done that.
I
if
just
cared about it.
Thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, I mean,
he got over it.
Yeah, but if he couldn't get over it, then I would have said, let's make them pay for a professional cleaner.
Yeah.
You know, and before you move all your stuff in, it gets cleaned. you
Right.
know? I mean, but yeah, I mean, you can work through solutions and problems and all that kind of stuff. But prepping is so important. Anything else on prepping, guys?
Nope.
Market like a pro.
Kind of touched on this a little bit.
We have touched a lot on this, and all this kind of goes hand in hand. But I think one of my biggest pet peeves that I get is when a seller reaches out to me and says, like, okay, well, you need to be doing more.
Yeah.
Like, you need to do more to get it out there. Like, what are you doing? You know, to
Yeah.
sell my house. Like, what kind of marketing are you doing? You know,
Right.
And it goes back to like your point, Casey. You said it's like, well, listen, I'm not worried about who's seeing it. It's out there. Everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to read y'all an email.
Okay.
If I can find it.
While he's finding it,
Yeah.
days on market, I talk about a lot. Granted, it's been really hard to talk about this specifically from the 30-year low that we just had, and market's correcting itself. And days on market data that I pull is not always the best.
Well, it's historical. It's same as
but
price.
I still bring it up, and I still talk to my sellers about it because days on market is, to me, is just as important as price, just as important of cleaning up your house. Like it's that important because I'm setting an expectation with my sellers so they know, because just because I'm marketing it, again, I can market it to every single person and go physically call every single person in the entire world and tell them about this house. But at the end of the day, it's still going to take a certain amount of days.
Yeah.
So just setting that expectation.
I
is
set
important.
the expectation with days on market too to do. I just back into how many showings we need to get per
Yes.
day, so that way we can tell if we are on track to get an offer within the
I had 70 showings before I had an offer on one of my listings, dude. I've never had that happen.
Yeah, but I mean, there's an anomaly to that, and the one that I was talking about, that we had over 30 in a couple weeks and no offer.
Yeah.
We finally did get an offer on it. I think last week she got an offer on it, but the reason why it was the way that it was is because the pictures, it looked completely remodeled. The pictures were amazing.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think.
Are we talking
similar.
about my agent?
Yes.
Okay.
You walk into the house.
I was going to bring that one up too, actually.
You walk into the house.
I'm next.
And completely trashed. I mean, not completely, but I mean, it's kind of like the situation that you just talked about, Casey, where there's pots and pans on the stove and just looks bad. Like, I mean, this one had like stuff in the backyard, like junk and chairs and toys and just all laying out in the backyard like they hadn't been touched, like the sun had gotten to them and for months, and wood, piles of wood out there. The inside, the paint was like all messed up.
I drove up to that house. It is a beautiful house, but yet she had to get it painted.
Yep.
Painted was a big thing. As you walked in, it's a remodeled house. You couldn't tell from the pictures. And then she asked me to go buy the house. So I went there and I pulled into the neighborhood, and it was all similar homes, and they've all been remodeled, and everyone has beautiful yards and grass, no weeds. And
this one,
I go to hers, and it was like, and she talked to the seller. She said all the expectations. This is just the seller. It's on the seller for not taking care of it. And they just didn't mow the yard. And so I was like, that is what's killing you.
Yeah, and you want to sell it for what everyone else has sold theirs for, but people walk up and their emotions are like, "Oh, no way!"
Yep, exactly.
Find something else, and that's kind of what
Casey's
happened.
turn.
You got your email?
Got it.
Let's
Okay,
hear it.
so the email is, we're almost there doing house cleanup this weekend, photography next weekend. Could you email me a summary of the Bricks go-to market strategy on a new listing besides just posting on the MLS and putting a sign in the yard? So that's exactly what he thinks that I do.
Yeah.
And he's for sale by owner right now, by the way, after I got him ready for market. This is what I said. I get this question a lot. What else is done besides putting my house on the MLS? Great question. First, we have to understand that the MLS is the most powerful tool we have. It doesn't just sit there. It feeds directly into major third-party sites like Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, plus around 80 other platforms that I pay for to be a part of. It also sends your listing to every buyer who has saved a search through a broker's website or any home search portal. We're actually the only country with a system like this, where the second your home hits the market, it's instantly visible to anyone and everyone looking. This is an incredible reach, and I'll never downplay how important this is. Just putting a home on the MLS isn't enough, I agree, and too many agents do stop there. I don't. I bring 10 years of experience. I've worked through the biggest boom of 2021 and the slowest market we've seen in 2024, even over 2008. I've also worked through the pandemic. With that being said, the most important things besides posting on the MLS is that I know how to negotiate, communicate, solve problems quickly so deals stay together. I understand how supply and demand shifts, impacting pricing and strategy. Marketing is a very big deal to me. That's why I use a professional photographer and stay active on social media. I create reels and posts that actually reach people and keep them engaged. I have email with over 20,000 agents that are active and inactive that receive all new listings I post. I will be on my company's website with my personal website through my IDX feeds. Anytime someone visits it requires an email so I can follow up with them accordingly. I also do not print any flyers, but I do this strategically so when someone asks questions about my listings, I now have phone numbers that I can follow up with them on accordingly. But here's what it really comes down to. The price has to be right for the market we are in. If it's not, none of the marketing in this world will fix it. Selling a home is more complex than people understand, but I love the challenge. I'm constantly learning, and I believe everything starts with building strong relationships.
I love that email.
Mic drop.
You send that to me?
We
I will.
That.
We could actually put that in the description if it'll fit.
In what description?
The YouTube one.
Oh, okay.
Our channel.
Okay.
The one that we're doing right now.
Yeah. I forgot.
But it's funny because
we're just showing up and talking like we normally do.
Yeah, it's just funny because the way that he asked the question is what everyone actually thinks. So it's not bad on him to think that, but he obviously didn't like my answer because he's gonna use me. He's gonna use me if he can't do it on his own. But he's way overpriced because we started talking about price per square foot, and he goes, "Oh, that's way too low. I can't accept that."
Should we say something about open houses?
What about them?
That
For
they don't
selling your house.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't always.
I thought you dropped the mic.
I did, but I feel like this is an important one.
Okay, go for it.
Because sellers want open houses all the time, which I do agree that it helps increase visibility, right? People are saying it's another touch point that you can put on social media, make
Not
a real
the right
floor.
visibility, but it does get visibility.
Correct.
I also
And that's
wonder if
my
it hurts
point.
your showings too, though.
That's a good point. That's actually a good point. But open houses don't sell houses. They can, and it has happened, but the chances of that are very, very slim. Open houses are really for agents to pick up buyers.
This is what I started telling my sellers. If you have 6 clients that come, or 6 people that come through an open house, and say you didn't have a showing that week, and they say, well, we didn't have any showings. I go, yeah, we did. We had 6 people come through this week.
Yeah.
And I'll argue with them that every time. I'm like, they're just as interested or not interested as someone who sets up a showing with their agent.
Absolutely. It's just easy and convenient.
Right.
Because they don't have to talk to anyone. They can just
So I never
show up.
I always include that in my feedback about how many showings we've had.
I do too, because that's very smart.
You should. Yep.
All right. Ready to recap it up?
You recap.
Am I recapping?
No. That's why I'm asking, are we ready to recap?
Yeah, let's do it.
Is Brooke recapping?
I thought she was asking you. I guess she's recapping.
No, I'm recapping.
Yeah,
I was just asking if y'all are ready for it.
Brooke, we're ready.
You're ready.
Are you guys ready? That's the question. Are you
I don't
ready?
think they've ever been more ready.
That's right.
Wow. Okay, so make sure you price your house right from day one. That's the biggest one. I really think that's the biggest one. Out of everything,
absolutely.
like, just price it right.
Darn you agents, always talking about dropping the price.
That's weird. It's part of my job.
Prep your home to maximize its value is very, very important, because if you don't do this, it does affect your price.
Yeah, you won't get your best
It
price.
really does, because every home sells when price meets condition. So if your condition's not there, well, then your price is going to have to be at a different level.
Yeah, if we're not getting the price that you want, guess what you got to do? Increase the condition.
Yeah, as an agent, why would I not want to have your house sell as fast as possible for the most amount of money possible?
Exactly.
Duh.
Exactly. And then the last one is just market it like a pro. And so in order to do that is you need to hire a pro to do that for you. And that's all.
That's right. Well, cool, guys. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. And because of all your viewerships, we now have this new cool setup. Right, because all the money that's coming in from our
sponsors and
it's
stuff.
just crazy.
Thanks to
I
all.
drink
It's crazy.
a freaking McDonald's caramel frappe every single podcast.
You better wait
So
till we get
I'm
that
waiting for my podcast or my spodcast.
Sponsorship.
No, it's a spodcast now. It's a
okay.
sponsorship podcast.
You got to quit giving credit when they haven't paid yet.
Well, that's why I'm
the
trying
invoice
to.
has been sent.
You got to give a little to get a
You
little.
have to work for free before
right
you
now,
get paid.
My favorite sponsor is Books Real Estate Academy.
Yeah, we're down to 1 mug. We used to have 3.
Yeah, I was like, I'm the only one using it.
Anyways, as we come to an end, I just want to thank you guys for listening again. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if there's any topics you want to discuss. And I'm signing off. Casey Tudor, Curtis Haddock, and Brooke
Massey!